Wright, Associate Research Scholar, Lecturer in Politics and Public Affairs, Princeton University, with us now. Does this qualify under the just do something clause in politics?
Maybe, but there's really not a ton that President Biden can do. I mean, he will think of ideas, of course, heading into the midterms, but there's actually not a lot of research or evidence to suggest that voters even respond positively to policy changes that presidents bring about. So the question is, what can you do to bring swing voters aboard, independents and moderate voters, not programs that already appeal to Democrats who will vote for Biden, regardless of what the policy is?
It's kind of interesting, though, right? Because he takes away the Republican talking point, which they've been just pounding away at, that there are no more federal leases. But at the same time, as the administration announces, they said they would sharply reduce the acreage available for leases and charge higher royalties on the oil and gas produced. Does this do enough does the support he may get for this from moderate voters that you point out are so important outweigh the anger that the climate change people, enthusiasts for lack of a better term, feel and fear and will be angry at him because of this change?
Well, it's a really cynical, jaded way to loke at politics, but environmentalists will never.
I lived in Washington for 6 years. Forgive me.
Okay, I don't have to tell you that, Leland, but environmentalists will never vote for a Republican. So he really does need to do things to convince swing voters that he's trying to help their pocketbook. And, you know, it's probably too tough or too critical to say that, oh, it's too late, Biden shouldn't do any of this. I mean, frankly, presidents flip-flop on policies all the time, but if they end up in the right direction, that's probably better than doing nothing.
Fair enough. And it also takes this away from Republicans, and they can sit around and then on the flip side say, hey, look, to their base, we did this little thing. We did it on Good Friday when it's kind of going to be ignored, and nobody's going to really be talking about it on Monday morning. You bring up people who will and will not vote for the president. New Gallup polling on the young. President Biden is down 14 points among all U.S. adults, down 19 points among millennials, 21 points among Gen Z. That's born 1997 to 2004. Tom Bevan of Real Clear Politics, certainly not in any way known as a partisan, but certainly a very astute observer. Prediction: President Biden's approval rating is so low with 18 to 34-year-olds, he will have no choice but to forgive a huge chunk of student loan debt after Labor Day to try and help Dems avoid complete disaster in November. We understand, of course, that voters can be bought with promises of free stuff going forward. Will they reward someone who has given them free stuff looking backward?
I don't actually think it's such a great idea. I mean, even politically, I mean, less than a third of people under 30 years old have student loan debt. We talk about this and completely forget that most people in the country don't, because most people in the country don't go to college. And so, yes, there's this limited extent to which people might respond positively to the president, but this is that group. It's high income young voters that would benefit disproportionately from this type of forgiveness that are likely to support the president anyway. So unless the administration finds a targeted way to do this in which they're really helping the people that can't pay, not doctors and lawyers that took out loans for graduate school, that's going to be a boon of a Republican talking point. They will be shouting that from the rooftops, and it could contribute more to inflation.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's this catch-22, right? You eliminate student debt, and all of a sudden you just pour money onto the fire that already is inflation. And we know that inflation is at the root of all these bad numbers. I feel like as you're talking about this, that there's no way out for the Biden administration that you see in any of these polls.
Well, the macroeconomic forces might change. I mean, hopefully the Russia-Ukraine situation changes even a little bit would be so great for people. Maybe people, now that COVID is somewhat subsiding according to some numbers and people are more optimistic heading into the summer, maybe they'll be returning more to normal life as we knew it. But it will take those things that Biden does not have control over to turn things around. And certainly there's enough time before November, but there's no policy trick that he can pull out of his back pocket to turn his numbers around.
You think about, as you said, the macroeconomic issue. Now look at it on a micro basis as we head into this weekend. Easter basket inflation, the average cost of an Easter basket now $61.83. That's more than a 22% increase from spring of 2019. You're talking about things turning around economically in a way that is almost impossible to fathom could happen, right?
Maybe before 2024, but maybe not before 2022. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. What do you make then of things like this from Jen Psaki last night, for example, about student debt? Evidently, we don't have the soundbite, but she's saying that so now, between now and August 31st, it's either going to be extended or we're going to make a decision about canceling student debt. Then candidate Biden promised we should forgive a minimum of $10,000 a person of federal student loans as proposed by Senator Warren and colleagues. Again, back to this issue of young progressive Democrats who you say will always vote for the president, but who will not necessarily vote for a Republican or may never vote for a Republican. This would be the question. How
and
do
they
you
could stay home.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's the question is how do you, if you don't follow through on some of these promises for President Biden, how do you motivate that progressive base to come out for the 2022 midterms?
I mean, I think that's the calculation the administration's doing. I think it's very telling that they keep kicking the can down the road because I think they know that this is inflationary and it could have unintended consequences. And that's why they're really taking their time making the decision, not to mention they would much rather Congress deal with it. And the Department of Education doesn't have a ton of authority without congressional approval in the first place. So, I think we should give presidents the room to pivot when economic conditions change. That's the fairest of the fair. But I think there are costs and consequences that perhaps none of the Democratic candidates anticipated when they thought this would be a great way to stimulate the economy. The conditions are just totally different.
Yeah, well, no, it's stimulating the economy now has the opposite effect, right? It makes inflation worse, which hits the lower class, lower middle class, working class the most, which is exactly the kind of voters that President Biden and Democrats need. Back to this idea of doing something. Obviously, federal leases for oil lands, that's going to take a while. The other big Republican talking point as it relates to gas prices is Keystone XL pipeline. Here is Psaki a couple of weeks ago being questioned on that. Take a listen.
It sounds like you guys are blaming Putin for the increase in gas prices recently, but weren't gas prices going up anyway?
I think there's no question that, as we have seen, and outside analysts have conveyed this as well, the increase in the anticipated continued increase, which is, I think, what some of your colleagues were asking about, that is a direct result of the invasion of Ukraine.
Would President Biden ever undo his executive order that stopped the construction of the Keystone XL pipeline?
Are you suggesting that would solve the gas prices issue?
Well, do you think that would maybe affect prices faster than getting the whole country off of fossil fuels?
I actually don't think it would. The Keystone was not an oil field. It's a pipeline. Yeah. Also, the oil is continuing to flow in just through other means.
All right, last question to look forward. 33%, they start leasing on federal lands at 25% approval. Do you redo Keystone XL?
You know, that's probably not something that can produce lower prices immediately, but it's something. And at a certain point, a president in such a bad position and with people the most concerned with inflation over any other issue, hands down, might benefit from saying, look, we were committed to these environmental issues and we still are, but right now we have more immediate concerns. And so we are going to shift on our policy priorities. I think voters would be very receptive to that.
Fascinating conversation. Unfortunately, politics is cynical. That's what you learn studying it, but great analysis. Lauren, it was good to see you. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Leland.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.